Now the way that a man treats you has become a social status among women. We're seeing this with sprinkle culture. We're seeing this with like princess treatment, where women have become to like deem a hierarchy based off of the treatment from men, which in my opinion, that's a whole other conversation.
What's up, YouTube? It's Tiny C, and I'm back with another YouTube video. So in light of Sabrina Carpenter's song, Please, 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 and the Jalen Noble and Monet McMichael situation going on, a very interesting conversation has been brought to light. That's what we're really going to be getting into. So essentially what happened, Jalen went on a podcast where he was talking about the sprinkle lady that's very popular on TikTok. And he kind of brought up the drizzle movement that has been created in rebellion of sprinkle.
You know, from what the sprinkle movement is, it's like men are expected to pay all the bills, men are expected to pay for all the dates, men are expected to pay for your nails, hair, all these things. In today's economy, it's like, why is that the norm? Why is that the expectation? What does a provider mean? In my opinion, a provider doesn't mean someone who's going to pay financially for everything. That's not a provider to me. I think, you know, when someone becomes the mother of your kids or someone's raising, then there's a partnership that, you know, is communicated and talked about and understood. But it's like this sprinkle is all about the dating stage too. It's like, that doesn't make sense to me. So this soft man era is a satirical play on this sprinkle, but a lot of men are making content around like, oh, I'm getting a haircut, you didn't pay for it, I'm not seeing you later. Like, I'm not seeing you, drizzle. I'm not seeing, like, oh, you're not taking me on a date this weekend. That's crazy. I'm not seeing you, drizzle. Because the rhetoric online is, oh, he says he likes my nails, but he's not paying for them. Boy, bye, like kind of thing. It's like, well, okay, then let's flip that.
After this whole Jalen incident, people went to Monet's TikTok page and they were kind of like, what's going on with your boyfriend? Like, what's going on here? And it was bad timing because she had a fragrance launch that was about to drop, and it kind of overshadowed all the work that had been going into that. Apparently she's very wholesome. She does lifestyle content. A lot of people like her. And so her having a boyfriend that's teetering on the edge of red pill or teetering on the edge of take me out to dinner type of guy, right? It just wasn't looking too good. The next thing you know, Sabrina Carpenter releases her Please, Please, Please song. I can't play a snippet because I don't want to get demonetized, but essentially the song is talking about don't embarrass me, because I guess she has a boyfriend and she also is just like, I'm launching you, so don't make me look stupid in the public eye. And it kind of just reminded me of the Jalen and Monet situation. And so there was a correlation there. It's really not only them. This is something that's been going on. Even the more recent Simone Biles situation, her husband did something similar where he went on a podcast and just talked a bunch of foolishness. And so this whole situation of a guy embarrassing a woman or just not being considerate of her, it's being brought to light. What I really want to discuss further about this whole situation is, this a sensible fear that women have that your boyfriend, significant other might embarrass you? Or have we raised the bar too high? Have we gone too far? Have we lost the plot? So let's get into that.
Why is she so mad at you?
Well, women have these things in their bodies called expectations.
Are expectations bad?
Well, they're bad for us, but we can never live up to them. And once she learns to lower her expectations, everyone will be happy.
You'd think after 450 years her expectations would be really low. I mean, really.
The place we need to start is the bar is on the floor. This whole conversation of the bar being on the floor began on TikTok around 3 years ago. It's really about how easy it was to make a woman happy. Essentially what would happen is someone might post a video where their husband cleaned up. They did the dishes, or maybe they took the kids to school, and she might have been thanking him, or like, yeah, my husband just did this thing, or my boyfriend just did this thing. And people would be like, wow, the bar is on the floor, that you would be happy because he did the dishes or he'd take the kids to school. It's like, that's his kids. So that brought to stage that conversation that, you know, the bar is on the ground, because why are we as women happy because he did the dishes or he took the kids to school, when that should be his duty as well. It should be something that's a given. It has a lot to do with how women are socialized, even when it comes to relationships. They're taught to take care of others. They're taught to be selfless. So that goes to cooking. They do the cleaning. I mean, they have children. They do so much for others, even emotionally, asking how you're doing or how's that one friend that you have. A lot of the way that women behave in relationships is trying to make other people feel better. In general, a lot of the times women are socialized to take care of others, think about what they can do, what they can provide, rather than how they can make themselves happy. Even being into romance movies, romance books, you learn how to treat others and just what would be nice. All of these things we're learning because that's how we've been socialized. And on the flip side, men, they aren't taught the same things that women are taught. They're not taught that they have to cook, they have to clean. And of course, this isn't every guy, but a lot of guys aren't taught that they need to cook, they need to clean, how to do the housework, how to manage the housework, how to manage the kids, how to feed the kids, all of these sorts of things. It's just often put on the women's shoulders, so they don't learn those sorts of things. They might know the basics, like, oh, she wants to be told she's pretty, but it's definitely not to the depth that I think women are socialized to understand romantic relationships especially. And so there's definitely a disparity in how women are socialized to behave and act in a relationship versus how men are socialized to behave and act. A lot of a man's burden is just on whether he's able to provide and make money for a woman. But other than that, it's kind of like a bonus. Like, oh, and he cooks and he cleans and he brings you flowers and he knows how to talk to you sweetly. Oh, he can talk about his emotions. Oh, he's like vulnerable. These are things that aren't expected and they're surprises when you end up getting them. All of this kind of went into the bar is on the floor thing. It was bringing to light why men are not raised to the same standards that women are. Why are they allowed to just be subpar in relationships when women are expected to do so much, especially after you're married or you have children? It's just the load just doubles. So on these social media posts, when women would comment like the bar's on the floor, there was this pressure that started to build. There was this fear that began to grow. And it's not necessarily the newest fear, but I think people actually calling it out and saying, oh, the bar's on the floor, it definitely increased the pressure. And I'll definitely get more into that because that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good thing always. Like sometimes it might just be okay where your boyfriend is at. We'll talk about that more.
Nearly everything I know about love, I've learnt in my long-term friendships with women.
That really led me into women's dynamics with each other. There's definitely a pressure that comes with being a woman and conversing with other women or trying to be friends with other women. We definitely have a strong sense of community and support.
I've noticed that some women don't understand how men can have friendships without knowing basic knowledge about each other.
Here are some of the things I observed about male versus female friendship dynamics. One is guys do not need to talk to each other every day, all day, January to December, to consider each other friends. Their last conversation might have happened in March. They will meet in August and still consider each other friends. They'll just pick up from where they left off. With female friendships, it's after 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months of not talking. There's usually that questioning of, did something go wrong? Did I say something to upset them? What's going on? Are we still friends? Secondly, guys do not need a sit down of vulnerability and emotions and revealing their deepest fears and insecurities to connect. They only need to bond through activities. Like if they play a video game together or they play volleyball together, they will immediately think they're friends. But for women, it's about vulnerability. It's about feeling, and that's how we bond and connect. Now, this is why a guy will go to a game or a bar, and the next thing they're like, I made like 10 friends. But for a woman, for them to consider you your friend, it has to be something deeper than shared activities. Why it's common to hear things like, just because we went to dinner a couple of times, it doesn't make us friends, from women, because to women it's more than an activity, it's about emotions. Now, in no way am I saying that all men lack emotional intelligence or they cannot be vulnerable. But in this case, what I have observed is female friendships require more emotions as opposed to male friendships.
Which is great. And I think that this is where there is that pressure to make sure that you are conforming to the other girls. Women might be more prone to holding themselves to high standards when it comes to their morals and ethics. And so even in community with women, it's the same sort of thing. We're trying to support each other and lift each other up and like, yes, girl boss. You can tell there's definitely a supportive vibe when it comes to women dominant spaces, because it's just how we've been socialized to behave and act. There's also the sense of seeking the approval. You don't want to be kicked out of the crowd, and that's just like innate to us as humans. No one wants to be on the outside. You want to make sure that you are living up to the expectations. You are of the standard that's been deemed correct for the friend group. Although this can lead to sometimes groupthink, or it can lead to bullying if you aren't behaving properly, I think largely there's more positive benefits. Women tend to have more emotional bonds, and so we trust each other when we say certain things. If you have a good group of girlfriends around you, you trust what they say, you trust their opinions. All this has to do with the fact that if you see that women are shifting to raising their standards and they're commenting on other women's pages and they're saying the bar is on the ground, you internalize that and you go, wow, like this could potentially be embarrassing if I don't have a guy that's, living up to this standard, or I don't have a guy that naturally does A, B, C, and D, whatever the new standard is. And I think that definitely goes into the shift that we're seeing where women are talking out loud about that fear of being embarrassed. Who's going to make you feel embarrassed? It's going to be women. Obviously, it's not going to be men. You're going to be embarrassed if other women see you being treated poorly by a man. So you definitely internalize that as a woman. If you are in women's spaces, even if that's online, and you hear that this is the consensus, you take that seriously and you go, okay, I trust other women because I know how we are. I also see it too. Whatever the reason is, you hear it, you understand it, and you go, okay, I want to raise my standards as well. And so I don't want to be embarrassed by a man by accepting below the bare minimum or even being mistreated. Because sometimes it's not even that they're not doing the bare minimum, it's that they're cheating on you, they're talking to you crazy. Like, it could be a number of things.
What'd you get?
That's funny. I don't remember subscribing to Fancy Living Digest. Look at these glossy depictions of a higher standard of living.
That leads us into the conversation of raising the bar. A lot of things happen, but these are definitely the more prominent trends that I saw. The first was Sprinkle Sprinkle. The Sprinkle Sprinkle movement was started by Shira7, and she's a TikToker. She also has a YouTube channel. She gives advice to women that want the soft life, or essentially to be with a man of high status.
A man asks what you're looking for, you never tell them. You say, I don't know when I see it. Sprinkle Sprinkle. I'm looking for old-fashioned man. That means somebody who paying. Sprinkle Sprinkle. They're trying to get a checklist to sleep with you. So if you don't give them a checklist, give them something very general. I like an old-fashioned gentleman. That means you got to pay. Sprinkle Sprinkle. Pay, take me shopping, impress me, open doors. If you ain't about that, keep it moving.
Sprinkle Sprinkle. And if y'all don't know what Sprinkle Sprinkle means, it means like blessings, bless your heart. It's just something I made up long time ago on this channel. So it's just like saying, okay, bless your heart, back at you, whatever y'all need it to mean. But please, y'all, stop hyping up these broke dudes that aren't doing anything for you. The more you hype them up, the more they're going to think it's okay to stay broke.
Essentially, what I gather from it is that she's giving relationship advice to a specific person, a specific type of woman that wants a specific type of life. I don't think this is for every and anybody. So it's very much take it if this is something that you want. That's how I look at it. This movement really spurred on a conversation of the soft life. This is where you see trends of like women posting soft life content or stay-at-home girlfriend, stay-at-home wife content, trad wife type of vibe.
Day of my life as a stay-at-home girlfriend. I first did my skincare routine, then I did some ice rolling and some journaling, and I made the bed. Then Luke and I got out and picked up some celery juice and then went to his favorite latte place. Then we came home and I made myself a matcha latte and checked some emails, replied to some texts.
They essentially would post aesthetic vlogs of their life that, you know, it makes you feel envious or like, oh, that's a nice life that she's living. You know, she's just at home essentially doing rich girl activities. Like she might be going to Pilates, drinking her matcha tea, or whatever she's doing. It essentially romanticizes the stay-at-home life. And this is a woman that is being taken care of by her husband, or maybe she's being taken care of by her boyfriend. But this became a trend. And then you see the people who would be like, how to get a soft life, you know, how to get a high earning man. And this just created this whole new lane that wasn't really there before. The whole soft life conversation was essentially repackaging what Shira 7 was saying in a more marketable way, so that everyone could sort of aspire to it. I think Shira 7 speaks in a more like controversial way, whereas I think being like a stay-at-home girlfriend or like being a stay-at-home wife, people feel less scared to want that sort of life. It's a domino effect. And so naturally now other women are also aspiring for that. So either they could post it or it's just that they raise their standards as well. A lot of the times women would overlook how they were actually being treated because they had a man. But now obviously it's shifting towards like, it's even better if he's actually treating you in an ideal way, or he's giving you the soft life, or you have something that you can actually brag about. It's not enough just to have a boyfriend. And that's largely thanks to social media. We may have skipped a step for sure. There's definitely a more holistic way to choose a mate, to choose a guy. We're going into this more extreme way because of social media. It might not completely translate 100% to real life, but I definitely think when you're seeing a conversation like this online, there's no doubt that there's a large portion of people in real life that are thinking that way, that are agreeing and subscribing to this new way of looking for a guy. And it's just becoming more normalized. And so I don't see a lot of people teaching women how to choose a guy that's right for them. It's just always kind of like a blanket, like soft life or nothing. It might just be skipping my feed. I might just not be seeing it. Oftentimes it's either the trad wife extreme or it's the soft life extreme. There's really no like, realistically, how can you choose a guy? We went from 0 to 100, and sometimes we have to move in extremes to get things done. So I'm not gonna clock it too much, but I do think we can have a critical eye still and say like, yeah, maybe we went to the extreme, but if we peel the layers back, I think the purpose is that women raise their standards and expect more of men, and they don't just accept below the bare minimum. Because women have been socialized to do so much, it's only right that they get something in return for their efforts, and it takes two to tango. So if a woman's draining all of her energy for a man, it's just not going to work. So I'm totally for raising the bar, but with the critical eye, be mindful of what's right for you and what you actually want. Just because everyone's talking about soft life and all that sort of thing, it might not be your cup of tea. And so be mindful of that. Now that we kind of understand the background of how we've gotten to this place where the bar is so raised, we can bring it back to the whole Jalen and Monet situation, and honestly just that fear that Sabrina Carpenter has brought to light of you choosing the wrong guy, essentially. With the context, it makes sense that this conversation is being said out loud now. Women have improved their ability to screen a man. They've improved their ability to choose. And because of this, now it's like, if I did my job correctly, then I shouldn't be getting embarrassed. He shouldn't treat me wrong. But honestly, there's just so much negative press that men get, honestly, and relationships get, that there's a fear. Even if you thought you chose correctly, there's that fear that's like, please don't make a fool of me. Don't make me the next woman that's the face of a man making her look like a fool. And in the situation of Jalen and Monet, or even Simone Biles, it's become more normalized to tell a woman to leave if they're not being treated right. Now, you might think that this is normal. It's always been happening, but I feel as though it hasn't always been this way. Oftentimes, a man was like an item to be like, wow, I have a guy. And so women wouldn't leave, other women wouldn't tell you to leave, but it's shifting to a place where bad behavior isn't just accepted. Because if you see any of those women's comment sections when they're being treated wrong, women will be quick to let you know. And like I said, it might not always be right. Sometimes it might just be petty. Don't break up over the internet. Don't let the internet ruin your relationship if you know personally that it's a good relationship. But when it's used right, when it's used correctly, it's a good thing that it's becoming easier and more normalized to know right from wrong, to know good treatment from bad treatment. So through this situation, we are seeing a lot of the conversation shift around gender roles, honestly, is what it comes down to. How can we balance the way that women versus men have been taught to behave in a relationship? Because clearly women feel as though they're not being treated right in relationships or that they're giving too much. All in all, is this a real fear? Is this something that is good? Or have we taken it too far? I think that the fear is real. I'm not going to minimize the fear. But what I do think is there's a bit of an overcorrection that's going on with social media. Oftentimes that's just how it goes. Things go to the extreme. I don't want women and men to ostracize themselves from each other. Like, I think we can be in harmony. I think we can work together and we can solve this whole thing. But it definitely means we have to empathize and listen to both sides. And so the fear is definitely real. The correction, however, is going to be a lot more nuanced, and it's going to take a lot more time because men being raised up to the standard that women have just been taught their whole lives, it's going to take time. It's not something natural to most men. Now, if we look at the younger generations, they're going to be hopefully socialized to not feel as though they're going to escape from child rearing or cleaning or cooking or any of that stuff, that these things aren't gendered. It's not exclusive to a woman. It's not a woman's role. Let's ask for more. Let's not shortchange ourselves because it's only going to deplete your energy if you take less than you're giving yourself. But in the same breath, be realistic, be mindful of how you choose. Don't feel like you have to follow the trends or want a guy like that as well, just because that's what's popular online, because online is one thing, real life is another thing. That's all I have for you guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Comment what you think about this fear, whether you're a girl or a guy. Both opinions will be very interesting. What do you think of this new fear that's being voiced? Is it valid? Can you relate? And I'll see you guys in the next video.